Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Queers, and I am the Associate Director of the Kaufman Interfaith Institute at Grand Valley State University. On behalf of the Institute for Global Education, I'd like to welcome you to the 2020 International Day of Peace, Shaping Peace Together. At this time, I'd like to introduce Kathi Harris, Executive Committee Chair for the Institute for Global Education. Kathi Harris has been involved with IGE since its establishment in the 1980s. She's been an active member of the board since the late 1990s and has shared the board position in the past before becoming chair 4 years ago. Kathi has helped IGE in many of its programs and has a particular interest in education methods and issues, basic human rights, fair living conditions, and issues of equality. Kathi is a retired college professor. Kathi, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Kyle. I work with the Institute for Global Education, a 40-year-old justice and peace non-sectarian group here in Grand Rapids, and we commemorate every year the United Nations International Day of Peace, which is today, September 21st. The theme this year is peace and community. And so each of our speakers will follow the previous speaker and will tell us their name and their affiliation. Thank you so much to the Kaufman Institute this year and the people that have helped us put this Zoom program together. And we'll go to the first speaker.
Good evening. My name's Lisa Rose, and I am from Temple Emmanuel, longtime member. Temple Emmanuel, if you're not familiar, is a Reform Judaism congregation. We're located on Fulton, and are one of the oldest synagogues in the Grand Rapids community. For many of you, you might know that we're in the middle of what is known as the High Holy Days in the Jewish faith. It began on Friday with the Rosh Hashanah holiday, and that is also known as the head of the Jewish New Year. The Jewish calendar is a lunar calendar, so it doesn't line up with the traditional calendar year of January until December. We're now entering in the year, we've now entered into the year 5781, though I did mistakenly write all my New Year cards out 5782. I will attribute that only to being 2020. But we are entering into a new year. And for the High Holy Days, it's not just one celebration, rather it's a process of 10 days that's bookended by Rosh Hashanah, and then it concludes with the service known as Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And in that time period, it is actually in addition to Passover, it is the central process of holidays to the Jewish people. An individual is called to pause, sit, and reflect on their impact on the world, on individuals around them, and look forward to how they can look ahead and refine what that can be for the new year. And in the spirit of the International Day of Peace, I think that it is auspicious to have this within that bookended time. Many of you, if you're not familiar, a symbol of the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur holidays is what's called a shofar. It is a ram's horn, and it's actually one of the oldest musical instruments in human history. It's pretty basic. It's a ram's horn. I'm not going to blow it because I do believe this is one of my kids. And we don't cross-share instruments this time of year. But it's to be blown, and it is blown as a call to action. And it's a call to acknowledge there's a moment to pause and reflect. And also to act. What is that action going to be as we leave Yom Kippur, that Day of Atonement, having had asked for forgiveness of the wrongs that we've committed, intentionally or not, and how we can move forward. And I think that, again, for this Day of Peace, there's been no other time, of course, in my lifetime where there has been more dissonance across the world and across the globe. And I'm sure my colleagues that follow will touch on this as well. But there's also been no other time, not just for peace, but a discussion to be had on justice. And in the Jewish faith, there are key tenets to our faith that we feel are an obligation to do while we're alive in this world. We don't necessarily look for salvation to happen in the world after. We believe that it is our right and obligation to act righteously for justice and peace in the moment, in this life. And core tenets of that, one of them, I'll introduce a couple words to you. Tikkun Olam is central, and the meaning of to the Jewish faith, and is means to repair the world and to heal what is broken. Now, we do that through a couple different ways. We do that by practicing what we call chesed. Chesed is the act of loving kindness. Again, we don't always get it right because we're human. So there's that opportunity in Rosh Hashanah, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, to revisit how frequently really are we compassionate with each other and even with ourselves. Additionally, there's a concept central to this work that's called tzedakah. Frequently, people interpret tzedakah in Hebrew to be charity. And it's a little different than charity as it's defined by giving of money. Tzedakah has the root word is zedek, meaning justice. And between chesed and tzedakah, really, and tikkun olam, our tenets of faith hold us accountable as Jews to make sure our actions align with healing the world through acts of loving kindness for justice. And when we talk about Day of Peace, for me personally, they're inextricably linked. Peace cannot be had until we have equal rights, until we have ended persecution between countries, until we have even healed the broken hurt in our homes and our families, between us and the rest of those that might be in our lives. That's a big, tall order. But just because the work is big doesn't give us an opportunity to deflect from it. We're obligated to do something. So as in that spirit and sort of kicking this conversation off, I'd like to leave you with one of the readings from Sunday's service, or excuse me, Saturday's Rosh Hashanah services. This happens to be one of my favorite. Every year we bookmark it, pull it out, I get excited. I'll share it with you also in the chat. And it is a piece called I Know. And it's by James Conlon. He was born in 1936 and is still living. I know that poverty must cease. I know this through the brokenness and conflict in my heart. I know that protest is my most prophetic act, and that the world is longing for a new soul and a new healing moment. I know that when we awaken to our origins and become truly human, we bring hope to the children and to the earth. I feel called today to bring the people together to break the bread and tell the story. I feel called today to be a mystic in action, aligned to the dynamics of the universe. I feel called today to give my gift and to listen to the heartbeat of the broken world, to heal the fragmentation of people and planet. I feel called today to celebrate the wonder of creation and respond to the sacredness and the challenges of life. I feel called today to participate in the work of my time, to fall in love, to feel at home. I feel called today to be inflamed with enduring hope, to be at one with the universe, to be touched by God. I feel called today to compose a new paragraph for life. Again, that was a snippet from our Rosh Hashanah services on Saturday morning, from our Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur High Holy Days prayer service. it is that. With that, I'll turn it over to our next presenter, and I hope that those words in that service also inspire you to a call to action to strive for peace and tzedek and justice in the upcoming new year of 5781. Was I muted that whole time?
Yeah, my name is Aslam Modak. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. Okay, my name is Aslam Modak, and I'm going to start by saying Assalamu alaikum, which basically means peace be with you, or peace be upon you. Okay? And it continues, the greeting continues as Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, which means peace be upon you and blessings and the mercy of God and blessings from God. So with these words of greeting, I will start by continuing from Lisa's fantastic presentation. Lisa, you said the word sadaqah. The word sadaqah in Arabic also means charity. Okay? But it's not limited to charity. So I'm going to just start my talk by continuing from where you left off. And the Prophet Muhammad once said to his companions that they should give as much, they should they should try to inculcate the practice of doing sadaqah as much as possible. So one of them, one companion said, he said, "O Messenger of God, I do not have anything to share. I don't have. I am not a man of means." So the Prophet actually said, "Smiling at someone is charity, is sadaqah. Feeding your wife is sadaqah. Okay, putting your hand on the head of an orphan is sadaqah." So basically, sadaqah, the word sadaqah basically means to spread goodness and goodwill as much as possible, whether you have the means or not. Okay, so I just wanted to thank you for giving me that word to introduce this topic. Now, I am speaking on behalf of the Islamic Center at Burton Avenue. I'm on the board at the Burton Islamic Center, and I wanted to wish all of you hearty and heartfelt and sincere greetings on this International Day of Peace, at a time when peace is extremely required. We need it inside and we need it outside. I'm going to just mention a few words from the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, and then we will continue from there. And the Prophet actually said, "You will not enter paradise until you believe, and you will not believe until you love each other. Shall I show you something that if you did, you would love each other?" And they said, "Yes, of course." So he said, "Spread peace among yourselves." So spreading peace is even by saying Salamu alaikum, which means you are extending peace upon others. Even that, those vibes, which if they are heartfelt, they do create a reciprocity, they do create a reaction in the listener and soften the listener's heart to wish you peace as well. And that's why this is important. We are here for that. And I also wanted to mention something from the Quran, which just struck me. There's a chapter in the Quran called Fatah, Surah Fatah. Surah means chapter. Fatah means victory or opening. It means victory. It also means an opening when no opening is possible. So, basically, a means to relieve yourself, a source of great grace. In this surah, the surah, I read this one at least once a week, therefore I am somewhat familiar with this. It starts by saying that God conferred a great favor upon you by granting you a tremendous victory. Tremendous victory, and it says Fathul Azim, which is the supreme, the most tremendous victory that you could have. And the context for this is the Prophet Muhammad, as most of you probably know, he had been exiled from Mecca to Medina. He went to Medina after he was exiled, and he once, in response to a dream where he saw that he and his companions were going around the Kaaba, he said, let's go. I think we have been ordered to go to visit the Kaaba and perform our pilgrimage. At this point, the Meccans, they came out of Mecca to stop him with swords, and he had come with nothing except absolutely nothing. Absolutely, this group had come with absolutely nothing except the garb of a pilgrim that they wore, and that's all they had. And their opposition came fully armed to fight. And finally, they agreed upon a truce. They agreed upon a diplomatic pact, which said that for 10 years, so we said that they will come after 10 years, they will not come now. And in those 10 years, if they come across any person from Makkah, they will give him back, they will not keep him. But if they encounter anyone from Makkah who they capture or who they find in Medina, they will send that person right away. And there were many other conditions that seemed humiliating on the face of it, but the Prophet agreed to all of them in order to spread peace. Okay? And to such an extent that even his companions, who never went expressed any disagreement with him, they said, "What's going on? Why are we being humiliated like this?" And he said, "You do not know what I know." Okay, and he signed the treaty. Whatever the Meccans proposed, he agreed, and he agreed to the conditions. To the extent that when the agreement began by saying this is an agreement between Muhammad, the messenger of God, and so, the leader of the Meccans, they said, well, we don't recognize you as messenger, so take that out. So he even agreed to remove that. He said this is an agreement between Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, and so, the leader of the Meccans. Okay? And this agreement would be valid for 10 years. So it was after this, in apparently humiliating treaty, that this revelation came in the Quran, where God says, you have gained the most supreme, the greatest ever victory. Okay, so what does this mean? What was the victory? The victory was you enter into an agreement with your enemy, and you did not shed a single drop of blood, and you spread peace. They went away happy, and you decided, hey, what's a few more years? We will not fight. So this was an agreement that you come to with an enemy if you end on terms that avoid fighting and bloodshed, is considered in the Quran as the supreme triumph. So on that note, I just want to say that I wish all of you the best of heartfelt, sincere wishes for this International Day of Peace, and peace be to all of you. And I think my time is up. And Kyle, is it up, or do I have more time? Okay. All right. So I think I'll stop here, and I believe the next speaker is Kathi Harris, and I will just stop here. Thank you, and Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to come to you tonight and share my views on peace, International Peace Day. I am Baptist, born and raised under Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church under the leadership of Pastor Maurice Jones. I am currently a member at Redeemed Missionary Baptist Church. And as a missionary, under the missionary church, we are always helping our community, helping each other and reaching out to do what we can in the community. And I think that as I grew up under our leadership of our pastor and following my mother's lead, I was always doing whatever she told me I needed to do for one, but it was always treating people like we wanted to be treated. So on this International Day and every day, that's my mission. I keep that always in the back of my mind because that's how we were taught, was to treat others. And I find myself now in this age that we're in, where there's so much going on and so many problems out there in the world. I always think of how I would want them to treat me. I wouldn't want to do those things now. And so teaching my grandson and my son and my family members the same. So we're never going to get beyond that peace if we don't start doing better with treating each other better, treating each other the way we want to be treated. That's just an old thing that all of us, I'm sure, were raised the same way. And so growing up that way and under the leadership of our pastor and doing what we needed to do, starting within the church or starting at home and within the church, now that I'm older, it's just instilled in me to, whether I'm at home or wherever I am, to continue that same mindset. What I'm doing right now in a community, and that's kind of what it's like I eat, breathe, and sleep the things in the community because I'm always thinking of others. I've had people that I work with always ask me, why do you keep doing that? Why don't you give up? You can see they're not changing. You can see the problems are not getting better. Why don't you stop? But I can't stop. I don't want to stop because it's not about me. It's always trying to reach out and help others. And so the things that I'm doing right now with the register to vote, it's not just about me. I mean, sure, that's a mission of mine, but if we don't help each other, if we don't get out in the community and do the things that we all should be doing, our problems are not going to get any better. It takes a little bit of us to do a little bit. If everybody can do a little bit of something, we can accomplish a whole lot. And that this International Day of Peace, a lot of people probably didn't even think of this as being the International Day of Peace. But, you know, it's simple. It's just working together, doing what we need to do, support each other, thinking of how you would want to be, how you want your kids. And I'm kind of getting away from the spiritual part of it, but yet I'm still keeping it because that's instilled in me, that spirituality. I was at an event on Saturday and I'd seen some things happen that shouldn't have happened. And I stopped what I was doing to go get involved with somebody else's problem. And I shouldn't have done that. But I thought, I can't stand here and watch this. I can't not do anything. I have to do something. I didn't know the people. I didn't know what was going on. I put myself in a really, now that I think about it, I put myself in a bad situation. But I always know that God is with me. I have my faith, and I don't think about the bad things that could happen because I know that I have to do my part. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to live with myself. So I had to get involved with somebody else's problem. But that's why, apparently that's where God wanted me to be. And I think of that all the time, of me being in places, not thinking about the bad things that could happen, because I know I have my faith. I know that I was raised that way. And just knowing that I am, you know, with me, I can only pray about it, ask for the strength and keep it moving. I just do what I do because I know God is with me. And I know my mom and father are deceased now and they're looking down on me, but I'm doing what they taught me and I'm doing what I learned, you know, growing up over the years. And it kind of sounds a little redundant, but you can't say it enough, of working together, supporting each other, loving each other, and just being there for each other and not think about the negative part of it, because it's something that we have to do. If you heard of the fights, the riots, the things that was going on, if everybody did a little bit of something and took part in that, we may not have had it as bad as it was, but it comes from us coming together, loving each other, supporting each other, and being there, doing what we need to do as a people, as children of God, as you know, it doesn't even matter what your faith is. It's just knowing that you're doing what you were raised the right way of doing things. And our young people are not getting it. We have to do a better part in continually working with our young people of coming together and loving each other. And when this incident happened on Saturday, I heard some children crying from across this. I was like maybe a half a block away, and I heard that. I didn't hear anything else, and it's almost like I didn't see anything else. I just heard the children. And my mind went to my grandson. If he was in that situation, I would want someone to do something for him. So I put myself into that because of the children. With me working with the census right now, they talk about where the money's going. The money's used for the roads, the streets, the housing. My conversation always starts with those children because the money helps those children. And we have to continually working and thinking about, because they're learning from us. We have to teach them how to do the right thing, teach them how to grow like we've grown, teach them how, the kids don't even know how to pray nowadays. It's up to us. And if we don't start doing that, do more of that, do a better job at that, then I can't see it getting any better. But it's all within what was taught with us and how we were raised, how we have our faith with God, our relationship with God, that is so important. But it's a strong thing that our young people are not getting now. And so I don't even know if my time is up, but we have to do a better job at working together and keeping that peace. It's not going to change if we don't grow stronger together, love each other more, and just being there for each other when in need, and not stand back and watch from across the street, or not stand back and not get involved in speaking up and speaking out. But knowing everything that we're doing, if we have our faith together, if we are, we have our house in order, we know how strong we are. Whatever we do, it shouldn't even matter. We just need to do it. And so having said that, it's just, I know, I'm going to stop there. And if, I'm going to stop there, because it kind of gets emotional when you start talking about my heart is with the children, my heart is with my community. And so that's where I am. So happy International Day of Peace. And we have to do more together. Thank you.
Hello, namaste. I'm Fred Stella. I'm not on the big screen yet, but I'm assuming that you're hearing me. So I'll go ahead and start. First of all, as a gesture of interfaith goodwill, I'm sorry that we didn't get to hear shofar blown earlier. In the Hindu temple, we use a conch shell. And so in honor of Rosh Hashanah and the International Day of Peace, I'll blow my conch shell. There we go.
Well done, sir.
You're welcome. So I thought that today I would share a chant, and oftentimes if you've seen me at interfaith gatherings before, I often choose chants that are either translated from Sanskrit or perhaps even composed in English, as more and more Hindu chants are these days. But I'm actually going to do something in Sanskrit. This comes from our most venerable sacred text, the Rig Veda, and it's called the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is an indication, or an invocation rather, of the divine in its feminine form as the source of all light. And through this mantra, we call on that source of light to become channels or vessels of that light. And through that light, wisdom grows. And we share that wisdom, and out of that wisdom comes peace. Peace amongst countries, peace amongst neighbors, and certainly no less important, peace within ourselves. I'll be accompanying myself on a mridangam, which is an Indian drum. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsavatурvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We always chant Shanti thrice. The first Shanti is to invoke peace, that is, the absence of any natural calamity that might disturb our peace. So may we be free from ill weather, a violent storm, an earthquake. The second time we chant Shanti is we are invoking a protection against any man-made forces, any person who might attempt to disrupt our peace. And the third time we chant Shanti is that most difficult of times, and that is to protect against our own mind, which is so often the source of turbulence in our lives. So I will simply leave you chanting again, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you, Fred. That was really beautiful. My name is Sarah Edgington. I am a member of Unity of Grand Rapids Spiritual Center, and I'm also a parent leader and parent advocate for Parents for Healthy Homes, which is a grassroots organization dedicated to safe and affordable housing in an equitable community. I'd like to start tonight off with a quote from René Brown, which is, "Connection is why we're here. We are hardwired to connect with others. It's what gives our lives purpose and meaning. We are here tonight to talk about peace, faith in our community." I feel like it's essential to discuss peace through the lens of our 5 unity principles, which are God is good, people are good, thoughts create experiences, prayer and meditation, our connection to the divine, and action is needed. God is all good, and people are made in God's image, so therefore people are inherently good. We don't often recognize it in others because of our internal dialogue or our internal conversation with judgment, shame, and bias. Those are mostly due to our own experiences with these feelings. Through thoughts or create experiences, I have personally seen miracles show up in my lives and in the lives of loved ones all the time. God does answer prayers, if only we are brave enough to ask. Prayers and meditation or inner reflection is that connection. The reason why I say this is because when I work with parents in the community and community members through leadership classes, we like to start with a personal goal. And all of the world's problems cannot be solved until you take care of your own needs first. That's the first thing that we talk about. You do that by getting quiet and getting centered in yourself and listen, because listening is pretty big. Our final unity principle is to take action. Several of our speakers already tonight have talked about taking action, and I think that that's really important. The reason we are here to talk about world peace and what that looks like in our communities is because we are hardwired to connect with others. The way we do that is through being open and setting aside judgments and biases and just listen. Listening with empathy and vulnerability is hard to do, but it's something that we can. Listening to what we are afraid of, because if you listen to somebody else, you usually have those vulnerabilities and those fears in common. And I think that that's a great bridge. I think the thing that I love most about unity is in our faith is that we call it a practice, because nobody's perfect. We are practicing our principles as we walk with God. God doesn't have only one child. He's got a whole house full. And so I am a child of God, and so are other people, which means that I choose to listen to them with an open heart. I have committed myself for over 2 years to Parents for Healthy Homes because I've seen the impact it has had on my family. My advocacy work is centered around educating families and encouraging them to get involved and to get into advocacy within their own communities. I have the joy and the honor to remind parents and community members that they already have the skills to be leaders. They lead in their churches, in their spiritual centers, and in their families. We want peace, but peace is an action word. It starts in the silence and the open vulnerability with ourselves and with others. So today we celebrate peace in our community, but I would like to remind us that peace is our call to action to create those connections that gives our lives purpose and meaning. Thanks y'all for being here today, and happy World Day of Peace.
Hi everybody, my name is Ai Su and I'm a Dharma teacher at the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. So honored and grateful to be with you tonight. In these long days of so much happening, COVID-19 pandemic and the grief of so much loss, our country's reckoning with centuries-long racial injustices, polarization around politics, climate change, and even whether or not to wear a mask. It's difficult from day to day, even from moment to moment, to maintain a peaceful presence in the world. We watch the news and we wish things were different. We can look at others with judging eyes and tag them as the culprits to why peace is nowhere to be found. We can be paralyzed by fear and refuse to even see or hear those views that challenge our own. But until we realize that peace in the world is an inside job, we will never build and cultivate the kinds of communities that are equitable, honoring of all, and peaceful. The kinds of communities in which everyone, from our babies to our elders, will flourish. In the Buddhist tradition, a metta meditation is about cultivating loving kindness, which has already been mentioned tonight, first for ourselves, and then reaching outward with our loving kindness farther and farther until we extend it to all living beings. So an ever-expanding field of loving kindness. And we pay special attention to cultivating love for ourselves and for those with whom we experience challenges or difficulties. And we start with ourselves because how can we truly love another if that love doesn't start with us? By cultivating loving kindness for someone who disagrees with us or who may even discriminate or sow violence against us, we free ourselves of the burden of the fear of the other that can be so damaging and limiting. Over time, we begin to see that there is no other. With this realization comes inner peace, even in the midst of chaos. And emanating from inner peace, like the ripples on a pond, comes an infinite potential for joy and being in compassionate service to others in the world, taking action. This practice trains our minds and our hearts to love unconditionally. So tonight I invite you to join me in a very brief metta meditation. Please feel free to rest comfortably in your chair, close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you, and follow along at your own comfort level. So let's begin by bringing an image of yourself into your mind's eye. Perhaps you looking at yourself in the mirror this morning while getting ready for your day. Now let's cultivate loving kindness for ourselves. May I be happy and at ease. May I be healthy and whole in mind, body, and spirit. May I love and be loved by all living beings unconditionally, bringing peace to myself and those around me and those in the world. And now we'll cultivate loving kindness for someone who we love deeply, someone who has always had our very best interests at heart. Let's take a moment to bring an image of this person to mind. May they be happy and at ease. May they be healthy and whole in mind, body, and spirit. May they love and be loved by all living beings unconditionally, bringing peace to themselves and to those around them and to the world. And now we'll cultivate loving kindness for someone who you don't know well, a frontline worker, the cashier you crossed paths with at the grocery store this past weekend. Let's take a moment to bring this person into your mind's eye. May they be happy and at ease. May they be healthy and whole in mind, body, and spirit. May they love and be loved by all living beings unconditionally, bringing peace to themselves, to those around them, and to the world. And now we'll cultivate loving kindness for a person or group of people who you find difficult. And this is kind of where the rubber hits the road with this practice. Bring an image of this person or this group to your mind's eye someone who you find difficult or challenging. Consider that this person or people within this group want to feel fulfilled and to be happy and loved just like you. For this person or group that you find challenging, let's extend to them our most deep, heartfelt loving kindness. May they be happy and at ease. May they be healthy and whole in mind, body, and spirit. May they love and be loved by all living beings unconditionally, bringing peace to themselves, to those around them, and to the world. And finally, let's cultivate loving kindness for all living beings. This time, imagine in your mind's eye the earth suspended like a jewel in space. Imagine all the life on our planet, all the living beings. May all living beings be happy and at ease. May all be healthy and whole in mind, body, and spirit. May every living being love and be loved unconditionally, bringing peace to themselves and to the world. And this concludes the metta meditation.
Thank you, Kim. So my name is Father René Constanza. I'm Paul's father and rector of the Cathedral of St. Andrew here in Grand Rapids. And when it comes to the faith tradition, the Catholic faith tradition, there are so many things that that I can mention concerning peace, especially shaping peace together. One, for us who are Catholics, the first thing that comes to mind probably are the Catholic social teachings that are important there. But I want to start with the first component, which is important to keep in mind, prayer, to pray. Then I will talk about learn, and then act, which has been mentioned by so many of you. So for many years, we've tried to resolve conflicts by our own powers and by force of our arms. And this has just made it worse, the hostility, the darkness, shedding of blood, shattered lives, and hopes buried. So I pray that we realize that peace starts with every individual seeking wholeness, opening one's heart to love and to be filled by God's love. For us Catholics and Christians in Jesus Christ, opening oneself to be transformed by the divine through prayer is what we believe ignites peace. The second one is learn. The gradual transformation of oneself, one's attitudes, and one's viewpoint continues as we try to reach out to others who don't think like us, those who don't see reality like we do. Instead of focusing on what divides us, we can focus on our common walk to fullness of peace as pilgrim people. As we face the difficulties of the pandemic, the social unrest, the systemic racism and political tensions right now, we must see ourselves already in this together. In this way, we not only focus on our gifts, but on the gifts and strengths that others bring to us. This builds trust as we seek to understand the political and social issues that lead to poverty and conflict, which in many ways threaten the lives of our brothers and sisters, not only in this nation, but throughout the world. Learning about these issues and sharing stories of hope help us to reshape narratives that are not life-giving. And thirdly, act. So prayer, learning through stories of others, and then acting. The road to fullness of life and peace is not paved only by knowledge and intentions. For us Catholics, we have the 7 Catholic social teachings, which is one of the treasures of our church. And we use that to find ways to advocate for policies that seek justice and peace in the US and around the world. Rooted in prayer and action that is propelled by compassion, goodwill, and hope, we advocate for justice using a paradigm that Pope Francis has given us, a paradigm that helps us when dealing with the principles of social justice. Just want to mention briefly the 4 of them when we talk about social justice in the church. The first thing is that unity prevails over conflict. That is what we need to hold on to, that unity prevails over conflict. What unites us should be more than what divides us. And the second one is time over space. Pope Francis keeps telling us that, this work for justice, or cooperating with God in building God's reign, this is not an easy task. So work slowly but surely without being obsessed with immediate results. And that will require patience and hope. The third one is the whole over the parts. It's always important to keep the big picture in mind, what we call the common good. And lastly, the reality over ideas. Pope Francis usually talks about the reality of the encounter with people, Christ seeking us individuals, always God encountering us. And so it's important that the reality, how these encounters happen, listening to the stories of people, their joys, their sorrows, all of these things ought to prevail over the ideas. So those are 4 ways that help us keep our focus when we're in the work of social justice. So may the Lord continue shaping peace, shalom, paz, salam in and through us. Amen.
As we close out our time together, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our wonderful panelists for your beautiful words and reflections. To those watching, thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you found this space as encouraging and uplifting as I did. May we all hear this message of peace as an imperative, a hope that we must live into and act out each and every day. If you'd like to learn more about the Institute for Global Education, I'd encourage you to visit www.igegr.org. And if you'd be interested in learning more about the Kaufman Interfaith Institute, I encourage you to check out www.interfaithunderstanding.org. Once again, thank you for attending and have a wonderful day. Peace, friends.